Okay, let's begin. So hi everyone, welcome to PHL245 Modern Symbolic Logic. My name is Corey Lewis. I will be your instructor for the semester. So we don't have too much to do today. All we're going to do, I don't have paper syllabi for you because the only thing we're going to do today is go through the syllabus line by line. So we're not going to learn any logic today. We're just going to learn about the syllabus. So, but I do want to start by talking a little bit about the course in general. Can you hear me in the back, by the way? Is this, okay, good. All right, I'll just, rather than have the mic, I'll just talk loud. So our goal is to acquire a set of technical skills, basically, competence with symbolic logic, or at least with a certain standard package of logical skills. So courses like this are taught in practically every philosophy department in the world, and there's kind of a standard collection of skills that you're supposed to be up to speed with by the end of the semester. So acquiring those technical skills is going to be the whole class. Now, so this is an odd class in the following sense. People experience this class very, very differently depending on the kind of educational background you're from. So, for example, could I have anybody kind of in the philosophy department? Anybody looking? Hands up. Okay. Oh, good. So that's half of you or so. So anybody not in philosophy? Who's here for a distribution requirement? A goodly number of you. A goodly number of you. Okay. So spoiler alert, the grade distribution for this class is usually a bit bimodal. So there's a group of people who do really, really well, and then a group of people who kind of, this is a painful class for a lot of people, and it tends to be, I don't want to sort of like stereotype too much. It tends to be the sciences, the math and sciences students who kind of breeze through this course, and the humanities students who struggle profoundly with it. If you're in the humanities, you might be a really keen thinker and really good at paragraphs and subtle ideas, this class is probably going to be challenging for you. It was for me. So I was in the humanities, when I took this class back in ancient days, I was in the humanities side of that bimodal distribution, and I struggled really hard with this class. This was one of my most challenging classes. Nonetheless, it was one of my most rewarding classes. This is one of those classes that you remember for the rest of your life kind of thing. I was talking to, this weekend I was at a PhD defense party, and speaking to a woman there, she said that this class, so for those of you in philosophy, she did her degree studying existentialism at the Sorbonne in Paris. And she said this class, which is very much not like that, was her most helpful because now she works at a tech startup in management, and this class is how she talks to programmers. Right, so this is her class. In her actual life, this class was extremely useful because it let her bridge the humanities STEM divide. So that's the kind of benefit that you can get from this class, and it also greatly enhances your thinking and reasoning and all that stuff. For the STEM students in this class, if you look up bird courses at U of T, courses where it's an easy A, this course is listed, which kind of hurts my feelings because I worked really hard to get through this class. So I will try my best not to be bitter that some of you are going to cruise through this because probably there's 300 of you in this class. That means that there's at least several of you who are kind of like already better at logic than I am. So I'm mostly going to be teaching to who I was in this class. So I was a B- humanities student. I got a B- in this class in the humanities stream, and it really was a lot of struggle. So that's kind of who I'm going to be teaching to. For those of you who are going to cruise through this, I could just do nothing all day. I could just hand you the textbook and you teach yourself. So, I mean, I will try to be here for you as well, and it will be work for you as well, but the class is mostly going to be aimed at taking things kind of slowly and carefully, explaining as much as possible in depth for those of you for whom this will be a struggle. And it genuinely will be a struggle. It takes a lot of time to get these skills, right? A lot of practice, which is what STEM students are really good at. You're really trained up for having like, oh, I have 6 hours a week of problem sets to do, and I just nose to the grindstone it and get through those problem sets. Humanities students are more used to like reading a thing, going for a walk, sipping a coffee, thinking about it. It's a different kind of work. It's still work, it's still hard work, but it's a different kind of work. So this is just by way of warning. So kind of reflect on where you are in this spread. So you can be somewhere in between. You can be a technically minded humanities student, but your kind of experience with how you have to study for a class will profoundly impact how you're going to experience PHL245. Yeah? Yeah. So I hope we got something for everybody, but know that the way this class comes across is going to be very different depending on kind of what you're used to in your education. So, and like I said, these are purely technical skills that we're going to be developing. So for those of you in the humanities, you'll have this kind of rich, deep understanding of the material, like how this relates to logic and truth and reality. None of that's on the test, unfortunately. All we're going to test you on is your ability to execute these technical skills. So all you get is an enhanced life. I'm sorry, I wish I could give you course credit, but an enhanced life is the best I can offer you. And then we'll just test you on the technical stuff. Okay. So a couple of the basic skills that we're going to learn. So what we're going to learn is essentially a formal system where sentences, or more specifically propositions, get turned into this mathy looking stuff. So one of the first skills we're going to learn is symbolization, that is how to translate an English language sentence into our logical language. So this sentence here says, this weird squiggly thing says, not P, if not, it's not the case that if P then not Q, which could be equivalent to, it's not the case that if it's raining, you don't have to come to class. Where if P says it's raining and Q says you don't have to come to class, or you have to come to class. Okay, so if that doesn't make sense, we're going to spend, just to give you a mild flavor of the kind of skills we'll be up to, translating English sentences into logical sentences, and sometimes back to say what would be a reasonable interpretation of this logical sentence. So symbolization. We've got derivation. So this is what a derivation looks like. And a derivation is where you're trying to establish some conclusion, that is the show P if and only if Q, and then you take a step-by-step approach. So this is going to be the bulk of the course. So symbolization and derivation are the main skills we're going to develop. Derivation is coming to a conclusion based on a certain set of rules, which we'll sort of develop these rules slowly and carefully, which rules you're allowed to cite to move from one line to the next. And this is kind of a deductive proof. We'll talk about all of this stuff in detail. I just kind of want to show you this and give you the flavor. So if you've got math anxiety, if you've got formal systems anxiety, just don't panic when you see stuff like this. You'll be fine. This will all make perfect sense. And actually, by the end of this course, you'll look at this derivation, you'll look at this and go, oh, that's trivial. That's easy. This is one of the easy ones. And it will get fancier and more hectic as we go along. One more skill, so we'll do this before the first test, is truth tables, just sort of filling out. This is showing that this argument is valid by filling out the truth values of its parts. So if P is true, if Q is true, if R is true, then what happens? We'll do about one class on this, so it's not like a huge part of the course. And then at the end, so that's up to the first test, right? And then after the first test, we'll move on to what's called predicate logic. So this was sentential logic, the logic of sentences. This is predicate logic, where we're applying properties to objects. So this sentence says, for all x, for all things x, if x has the property G, if it's gold, then it has the property M, then it's metal. All right, so this is just one more layer of complexity. The whole class is just going to be taking one step at a time, layering complexity on complexity. Okay, so this is after the first, so this is the second half of the course. We move on to predicate logic. And then we do multi-place predicate logic, something like a relation. So the A and B stand in the T relation, which is to say Andrea is taller than Bill, that kind of thing. Okay. And then finally, we'll do 1 week on invalidities and expansions, where we try to fill. These are all variables, so what happens if we fill in the variables? None of this should make sense yet. I just wanted to give you, right off the bat, kind of the flavor, like a taste of what we'll be up to. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so I'll just show you this. So this is from the syllabus. The syllabus is up on QUERCUS. Take a look, take a careful look at the syllabus. And we've got a complete kind of schedule for you of what exactly we're going to do. So this is everything that we're going to do before the first test. You see there's the date, there's a basic topic, and then there are chapter titles from the Parsons text. So we have a textbook for this class. The textbook is up on QUERCUS. It's all free. Everything, there's nothing you have to buy to participate in this class. So these are, and we're basically going to be working through the Terry Parsons logic text. So for each class, there's kind of like chunks of the textbook that you can look at. There are extra exercises in that text that you can do if you want supplementary exercises. You can look there. And we're going to do, so assigned exercises. You see exercise 1 due September 21st, exercise 2 due September 28th. So those exercises are 15% of your mark. There's 10 of them, and they're all going to be done online. Okay, so these weekly exercises are going to be done using a program called Logic 2010. So the link to download Logic 2010 is also free. There's a link to download Logic 2010 on QUERCUS. And I'll post these exercises. So what I'll do is I'll post these exercises the Monday on the week they're due, and then they're due at 4 p.m. that Friday. Now, these are kind of low pressure exercises. These exercises should not stress you out too much, because you'll have an entire week to do them, and it's not like you just try it once and that's the mark you get. You can keep trying and trying until you get it right. Okay, so these are like, if you are determined, you can get the full 15% for these exercises. This is not a thing that you'll like maybe get through it. You should be able to get the full marks for this. And furthermore, you can ask for help with these. So we're not asking you to do these by yourself. We've got a variety of places. We'll talk about the variety of ways in which you can get help with these exercises. Yeah? So there's nothing due this week. I believe the first one is due next Friday. So I'll post the first exercise next Monday. Yeah, question?
Is it possible to get access to Logic 2010 if you're on the waiting list for the course?
I think so, yeah. I believe you can just sign up. Okay. Yeah. The security for, like, they're not trying to keep people, very few people want to steal Logic. It's not like a hot commodity. The resale value is very low, so yeah, the security is not that hot. If you're on the waiting list, I believe you can just sign up for this in the standard way of signing up. When you sign up, you're going to use your student number, not your student ID, but your student number, and you'll enter a password. Please remember your password. Again, this doesn't have to be like high security materials. A password that you're going to remember, write it down somewhere. It's kind of a process. If you forget your password, it's kind of a process to get you re-logged on. So please remember your password. Yeah. And okay, so Logic 2010, it's a marvelous tool. It's a really marvelous tool. You'll be able to do these exercises. You'll also be able to do a whole bunch of supplementary exercises. So there's like tons and tons of derivations that aren't assigned to you, but if you want extra practice, you can practice on them. And the nice thing about Logic 2010 is it tells you if you're doing it right or wrong right away. So it's immediate feedback on how you're doing on the process. So it's really nice. It looks like it was designed in the 80s, so it's not like visually slick. You'll see. It's a bit archaic looking, and using it takes a little bit of getting used to. It reminds me of my very first computer, a Commodore 64, from like the early 80s. Yeah. I can show you, actually. I can show you right now. Let's do Logic 2010. So here's Logic 2010. Let's start as a student. You don't get that option, but OK. So 18. Do I remember my password? Oh, I do. OK. So this is Logic. Yeah.
No, there's not.
There's nothing on the. Oh, how did. Well, I just ruined that. Utterly ruined it. So as soon as I left PowerPoint, it didn't want to talk to me anymore. Well. Okay, okay. All right, okay, we're back. This is all, oh, by the way, okay, so this is keeping in mind that this is a 10 a.m. class, what I'm going to do is, you see this microphone, I'm going to record all the lectures and record the slides. You don't get to see my dumb face, but you do get to see the slides on the recordings. So that embarrassing little snafu will be on the recording, and anything else that I do that's silly or incompetent will also be on the recording. So just, there will be some stuff like that, but if you can't make, you should nonetheless make it to this 10 a.m. class in the deep dark of winter. But if somehow you don't, the lectures will all be up on, I think on YouTube, because there's not enough space on QUERCUS to upload them all. Okay, so this is, all right, so here's Logic 2010. Let's show you a derivation. So here's a derivation. Oh, it's so beautiful. Isn't that beautiful? How do I clear this? Yeah, right? So like, it's very like, oh my God, it's so archaic, it's hilarious. But nonetheless, what I'll do is, so we're mostly going to be doing derivations, parsing, and symbolization. And there's sort of separate things for each, and you just go in and select the problem. And some of these problems will be assigned, and some of them you can just do. Yeah, so there's lots and lots of practice if you want lots and lots of practice. Okay, so I'll do a more careful, as we get closer to when you actually need to do this, I'll do a more careful introduction to each of the parts of this. I just wanted to show you the hilariousness that is Logic 2010. It's really helpful. It really is quite helpful. I wish I had this when I was doing this class. Maybe I would have gotten a B rather than a B minus. Okay, so install. If you haven't done this already, I can see that a bunch of you have downloaded this already. If you haven't, download it. Try to set it up. If you're on a Mac, this is infamously difficult to do on a Mac. If you're on a Mac, jump on the. So I started a discussion on QUERCUS of tech support for Logic 2010. I don't use a Mac, so I don't know how to help you, but hopefully there's somebody else that uses a Mac that can help you. It's not super satisfying as a thing, but so try to do this as soon as possible. Try to get this set up, and we'll sort out any problems before next Friday when the first thing is due, okay? Okay, so that's Logic 2010. That's the 10 weekly exercises are all gonna be done via Logic 2010. There's certain buttons you have to do to click to submit. So that I can see that you've done it. We'll talk about this as we get into it. Okay, there are also tests, 2 tests. One basically for sentential logic, one for predicate logic, and exactly when they are is on the syllabus. Exactly where they are is not on the syllabus. We're not going to be writing in this room because, wow, this would be a bad room to write a test in. I'm hoping for the exam center. It's much, much nicer. You get your own desk. It's great. So I put in that request. I'll let you know as soon as I hear back where we'll be writing these tests. Each will be 2 hours, and we will be writing during regular class time. So it'll be Mondays from 10 until 12, just not here. So I'll let you know as soon as I know where they'll be. Yeah? Okay? If you miss it, so there's 300 of you. If you miss a test, you must get in touch with me within 24 hours, and we'll figure something out. I will need some kind, just that you slept in is not a sufficient reason to get to write a makeup. A wicked hangover is no good. That's no good for me. Unless you could get a medical documentation for your hangover, if it's just like medical level. Then that's okay. So I need a medical document or something from your registrar or something from Accessibilities in order for you to be eligible to write a makeup test, okay? And you must, even still, you must, unless you're like unconscious for a week, you must get in touch within 24 hours. Because I want to be able to set these things up quickly and get it dealt with. Yeah? Okay. There will be an exam. There will be a 3-hour final exam. Standard practice, location, and time to be announced. And the exam will be cumulative. Yeah? So everything from the course will be on the exam. Pretty standard stuff. But that's it. There's only sort of like 2 tests, the exam and the assignments, that are compose your mark. So each of these are fairly heavily weighted. Yeah? Okay. If you miss the exam, I can't do anything for you. I have no power over this. Actually, it's probably a good system, knowing what professors are like, to not leave the exam in our hands. They have us submit the exam well ahead of time, and then we basically have no control over the process after that. If you miss an exam, you must talk to your registrar. I would love to help you, but I can't. Yeah? So talk to your registrar as soon as possible. Same thing goes for any kind of conflicts, exams at different campuses. So if you have an exam in Scarborough and then one here like an hour later, talk to your registrar and they can help you sort that out. Yeah? Okay. Right. So I said before, there's a bunch of different ways in which we can help you, and this is one of the main ones, the logic lab. So there's no tutorials for this class. There's no like regular tutorial meetings. What there is this weekly drop-in logic lab where a number of students, so undergraduates who did really well in this course, get sometimes employment after the fact to help you with your weekly assignments, with preparing for tests, preparing for the exams. So we'll have a series of these things every week. We have not yet worked out a schedule, because what I'd like to do is find out when the best, so we've got from the Logic Lab TAs when they're available, and I've put those times up on a doodle poll on QUERCUS. So what I'd like from you is to go to that doodle poll on QUERCUS and tell us when you think you'd be likely to go to the Logic Lab. If this is something that you kind of think you'd be interested in, and I recommend it, go on QUERCUS. There's a link to a doodle poll. Tell us when you think you'd be likely to want to go to the Logic Lab, and then we'll set up a schedule based on when you would want to be there. Yeah? Yeah. That's probably, so the exact room is to be determined, but it would almost certainly be in what's called the Jackman Humanities Building. It's at Bloor and St. George. Yeah, yeah. So the Jackman Humanities Building in the philosophy, they will book rooms in the philosophy department, 4th floor, 5th floor of the Jackman Humanities Building. Yeah. Yeah? Okay. So this is basically the tutorials. You are by no means required to go to these things, but it's strongly recommended if you want any kind of help. Yeah? If you want one-on-one help. So this week we're not doing too much sort of technical stuff that you'd need help with. I think we'll start up again next week. So hopefully we'll start up before the first exercise is due, and then have them run weekly after that. Yeah?
Can we dive into the problem sets at our own pace?
You're welcome to. You're welcome to. I'm going to post them kind of like the week before, but I mean, what you can do is do as many of those problems on Logic 2010 as you want. And you've got the textbook to guide you. You can do as many of them as you want, and probably you'll do a bunch of them by coincidence that I'm going to post as the exercise. But yeah, I think that's as much as sort of like getting ahead of things as I can offer you. Yeah, so you can do as much on Logic 2010 as your heart desires. Yeah. Yeah. Other questions? Okay. Here's another thing that you can do for help. We've set up, so this is mildly experimental because QUERCUS is new to all of us. I mean, I used it for a couple summer courses, but this is the first time I've attempted to use the discussion feature. In the past, this class has been associated with a Piazza discussion page. And that it has been extremely helpful. So when you're trying to do your weekly exercises, when you're trying to figure out a derivation, when you're trying to understand something from lectures, you can just ask on the discussion board on QUERCUS, and hopefully me or one of the other TAs or one of your fellow students can help you figure out your problem. So this is like online discussion board. You're very much encouraged, you don't have to like face these problem sets alone. You're very much encouraged to talk about them, to seek out help, right? I will encourage you to do the following two things. So when you're asking a question, don't just say, how do I solve this? Get as specific as possible. So if it's a derivation, you're like, I got through the first 5 lines of this and now I'm stuck. What do I do now? You can maybe post a little screenshot of how far you got, that kind of thing. And then when you're answering questions, it's better if you don't just upload a screenshot of your answer. You just get them unstuck on that one line. So get as specific as possible with both your questions and your answers. That will be more helpful to the student asking the question, because just seeing the answer isn't practice, right? Just seeing what the answer is not practice in getting to the solution. Getting unstuck on one line lets you do the rest of the getting to the solution. Yeah? Okay. So in the past, this has been extremely useful. Always been like a lively exchange, people helping each other. Like I say, we've never tried the QUERCUS discussion board before, so there might be weird surprises. If it's a technological disaster, we'll switch to Piazza. Okay, so we're going to try this. We're going to try the built-in QUERCUS discussion board. If for some unexpected reason, there's no reason why the university would saddle us with a terrible online platform, right? They'd never do that to us, Blackboard. Right? So there's no reason to expect this place has a computer science program, right? We should be able to have a decent discussion. It's not like a discussion board is like a high technology or anything, right? So it should be fine. If it's not fine, if for some reason technologically speaking it's a disaster, we'll switch midstream to Piazza. All right? Piazza is just another online discussion forum. It's been shown to work in the past. It would be nice if we could do this all in an integrated fashion, but that's the let's try it anyway, yeah? Okay. Okay, so those are your 2 main ways of getting help in the class. The logic lab, the QUERCUS discussion board. Of course, there's gonna be lectures. I'll be here, I'll be talking. And the lectures will be recorded. So the recordings, so videos of my voice over these slides will be up online. So I'll post those links on QUERCUS, yeah? Okay. So all of the readings are, the only readings are this, what's affectionately known as the Terry text, that is an exposition of symbolic logic by Terence Parsons. So a bunch of the examples are going to be from this. The textbook, this textbook is kind of comes paired with Logic 2010. So the sort of order of learning things in the textbook matches the order in which they're sort of laid out in Logic 2010, and is in fact going to match the order basically in which we're going to deal with them in lecture. There's one small deviation right at the end from the order. I'm going to do a little bit of chapter 4 before we finish chapter 3, but basically we're just going to go through the textbook, yeah? So hopefully all of the elements of this course are going to be nicely matched up with each other. You've got the exercises on Logic 2010, you've got the Parsons text that explains the stuff, and you'll have me talking in lecture, and they should all fit, if it works, they should all fit together well. Okay. A couple of things. My email policy, easiest way to get in touch with me is email. I will try my level best to respond within 24 hours, Monday to Friday. The weekends, no promises, but I will quite possibly respond. Basically, though, what I want to say is I can't teach you logic via email. That's the restriction. If you've got a how do I solve this exercise problem, please put it on the QUERCUS discussion board or bring it to the logic lab, because there are 300 of you, so I basically can't teach you logic via email. I'd also prefer if you didn't ask me questions that are answered on the syllabus. I might, if I'm in a generous mood, respond. If not, then that's probably what happened. So don't ask me when the test was. Look at the syllabus, yeah? If that's okay. So it's strictly a time. This is by far the largest class I've ever had. So Like I'm used to teaching like smaller humanities style classes. So I'm gonna have to be a bit draconian about my email policy. I'm happy to talk to you about any aspect of the course via email. Just don't ask me how to solve derivation 1.075, stuff like that. Yeah? Is that fair? Okay. Okay, and my office hours are Wednesday 3 to 5. I'm in the Jackman Humanities Building, 5th floor, room 538. I'm going to have to say something. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to say something similar about my office hours. It probably is not going to work if we treat this as like one-on-one tutoring time for logic. I'm happy to talk to you about life, about the structure of the course, about philosophy, about problems that you're having, like dealing with the course, that kind of thing. But if it's a question of like, how do I get unstuck on this derivation, it's better if you took that to the logic lab or to the online discussion board on QUERCUS. Yeah, because it's just, I've been told that in the past, the professor set up a bench outside his office because there was just like a crowd of people looking for one-on-one logic help. And I don't know if I can handle that. I don't know if I will be helpful in that way. It would be more, I think I could be more helpful to you if we reserve these office hours for talking about administrative stuff, about life stuff, about philosophy stuff, that kind of thing. And what I'll do is just try to show up to the logic lab. So if you want to talk to me, for some reason, if you want to talk to me rather than the people that got A+ in this course, I don't know why you would, but if that's the case, I will be at the logic lab. Maybe not every time, but I'll try to show up there on the regular. Yeah?
There's a discrepancy between what's on the syllabus and what's on the slide here for office hours.
Ah,
On the syllabus, it says like 1 to 3.
1 to 3.
So I don't know like which one to go by.
Yeah, that's a good question. What did I say? Sorry. I'm going to look at my Google Calendar if you don't mind. My apologies. Yeah, let's say 1 to 3. Say 1 to 3. My apologies for that. Okay. There we go. Okay. I'm glad this is all going to be immortalized on YouTube so that you get a real sense of what kind of person I am. Okay. Okay. Okay, and just some general advice. I mean, I think we did a little bit of this stuff at the beginning, but like practice. Practice is the only way. So this class is a series of technical skills. You know, reflecting on it at a distance is not the way to acquire those skills. Practicing is basically the only way. So putting in hours every week. You got to have a bunch of hours for this class every single week. And you got to stay caught up because what we're doing is building skills on skills. So each of the skills that you're going to start out learning is necessary to acquire the next set of skills. So if you space out for 4 weeks, you're going to be in trouble. Yeah? You have to stay on top of this stuff. One more kind of recommendation that I'd like to make is that you try, when you're doing this stuff, so one of the temptations is going to be to do all your practice on Logic 2010. Because it gives you immediate feedback. It's not as much of a pain in the butt as writing things down. I'm going to strongly recommend that you resist that temptation. Because outside of the weekly exercises, the vast majority of your mark is going to come from the tests and the exam, where you're going to have to write in pencil and paper. And there's this phenomenon called encoding specificity. That is, so for example, when they were trying to teach, a long time ago, they were trying to teach people how to weld underwater. And what they would do is, because it's expensive to get you in the scuba suit, right? They teach you to weld on land. And then when they would go underwater to try it, they just couldn't remember how to weld. Like they couldn't remember the skills that they learned on land when they were put into a new context. Right? So it's you've got a limited, the human brain has a limited ability to take a skill from one context and move it to another one. So it easily could be the case that you get really good at doing derivations in Logic 2010, and then you sit down at the exam with a pen and pencil and think, oh my God, I don't remember how to do derivations. Right? So I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want that to happen to you. What I'd recommend, if you're doing practice questions from Logic 2010, especially doing derivations and probably symbolizations as well, what I recommend is you write out the problem with a pen and paper, so that your primary practice is doing pen and paper. We'll do some practice in class, and again, I'm going to strongly recommend pen and paper. So bring pen and paper to class. That's my, like, if you want to avoid this skill transfer problem, right? So that, you know, it's logically, so formally equivalent between doing it on a computer and doing it in pen and paper. But for some reason, and you'd think your brain would just be able to go, oh, here, we'll just move it over here, but you can't. Psychology has shown us that it's an effort for your brain to do that, and you want to relieve yourself of that effort. I know that you came to Logic to learn weird cognitive psychology facts. That's why I'm telling you this. So, but nonetheless, so what I strongly recommend, practice in the context that you're going to be tested in. Like you can take this further. You can use one kind of pen for all of your practicing, and use that same kind of pen on the test and exam, and you will, statistically speaking, do better than if you used a different kind of pen on each. Right? It sounds bizarre. There's no good reason why that should be the case, but nonetheless, cognitive psychology tells us that this is the case. So maybe you don't have to go that far, but definitely do practice pen and paper first. Yeah? So even when you're doing the problem sets from the weekly exercises, it might be to your advantage to try to work them out pen and paper, and then input them into Logic 2010. Yeah? Okay. Okay, what questions have you got? What are we worried about? Yeah?
Are textbook readings required for this course?
Textbook readings are not strictly required. I think actually you could probably get by without them. So we're going to be going over in lecture the content of the text. So the text is not, we're not going to diverge that wildly from the text. It's reasonably well written. I hope that my 3 hours a week are better even than the text. The text is there so that you've got something else to refer to, and there's some extra exercises in there, some extra explanations. So it's a nice supplement, but probably you could get by without it. It's one of those things like if you want to use all of the resources available to you, the text is a resource available to you. Probably you can acquire, again, we're just testing you on your ability to get these technical skills. So if you get those technical skills from lecture, from practicing on Logic 2010, you're set. So, yeah. Yeah?
Historically, how much does the waitlist go?
Oh, I'm not sure about that. To be honest, I'm not sure about the waitlist. Yeah. I'm teaching another course called Philosophy for Scientists. If you want to, that's not full. So come do Philosophy for Scientists. That's more reading and writing stuff, so not all this technical stuff. But you get your distribution requirements, so you're very welcome to come join me there. That'd be nice. It's not even at 10 a.m. It's great. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I'm sorry I don't really know about that, and I have a number of people emailed me about this, and I have zero control over enrollment, so I can't. There's nothing that I can do for you on that front either. Usually there's a robust, so once we get into the like crunchy bits of the formalism, a bunch of people drop. So usually we get through the wait list reasonably well, but I don't want to make unfounded assertions about this. Yeah. Yeah, hi.
How about if you miss a few of the weekly assignments before you get into
If you miss a few of the weekly assignments before you get into the class.
Is that possible? Or is it
So because of the way Logic 2010 is structured, I believe that you can do the weekly assignments without being officially enrolled. So here's what doesn't happen. They don't build the who's allowed to sign up from a class list. So it's just you sign up and you tell Logic 2010 which class you are either in or hoping to be in. So I believe that you're able to do these weekly assignments without actually being enrolled in the class, and then I can go back and enter your marks. I think that should be possible. Yeah.
The waitlist ends this Friday too.
The waitlist ends this Friday. Okay, so
Before the first assignment.
Okay, okay, or the same day as the first assignment. Oh no, this Friday, this week. Okay, okay, so it's a full week. Oh, thank you. That helps a lot. So yeah, the wait list is over this Friday. So if you don't get in by Friday, my apologies, but that's it. Yeah.
So you said there's no mandatory readings, but are there recommended readings, like this week is like 12 or something?
Yes. So that was so on the syllabus. For every class, there's recommended readings. There's sort of like here's the part of the text that we're going to cover. Here's a part of the text that it would be good to have read. Yeah. So, yeah. Should I say anything else about this? I mean, don't show up on Thanksgiving, I guess. There's no class on Thanksgiving. I won't be here. Yeah. So we'll try to, a couple other things. We'll try to schedule extra logic lab hours before the 2 tests and the exam. We'll try to make sure that there's logic lab hours before each of these exercises are due. That kind of thing. Other questions? Oh yes, one last thing. There's been a request for a note taker. So at least one of the students, probably more than one student in this class, would love it if one of you who are going to attend regularly and make notes would be willing to share their notes with them. So there's a link on QUERCUS to how to sign up to be a volunteer note taker. I think you can get a letter that says that you did this. You can get a little note on your transcript that says you're a good citizen of the university. So it's also a good reason. It would be also to your benefit because it would cause you to show up to class and take good notes. So if you want a good reason to motivate yourself, being a volunteer note taker would be helpful. So it would be great if somebody could follow that link, offer yourself up as a volunteer note taker. Yeah? Okay, I think that's it for today. Thanks, everyone.